Memoirs of Grand Knaz. New book is available to all Soviet citizens in the book selling. Alright, just testing. Okay, 96 political power. Sorry, I do this too much. Second level military aid here. Because I want to see, double check this does lead to less political power income. Anyways, published in the 30s, the Memoirs of Grand Knaz. So this is apparently Russian or Grand Duchess or Grand Prince Alexander Mikhailovich Romanov, uncle of Nicholas II. I was trying to look this up. I couldn't find anything by this name. Of course, it's harder and harder these days. Like, search engines are... I don't know if they're using AI or they're just changed their algorithms, but they seem to be more and more giving biased results about anything political. They're designed to rewrite history. Like, you can't find articles. I know I read about certain historical events before. Not actually rewrite directly, but suppress certain things and tell a biased narrative. They're absolutely on board. Like Trump's fascist, working with big tech. I mean, was the Google guy was at inauguration. We give Google credit. They seem to be trying to do the bare minimum to avoid consequences versus some of these big tech are wholeheartedly in it, but that's the most credit I can give them. It's still wrong for them to cooperate with fascists. And then he analyzed the situation, look at the past pragmatically and patriotically, come to the conclusion that when the Bolsheviks saved Russia from partition, becoming a Western colony, probably under Nazi control, the UK was perfectly willing to go along with that until the Nazis attacked Poland, which was a red line. They wanted the Nazis to just invade the Soviet Union through Romania, and they would have been completely state neutral. That happened as long as Poland was untouched, because the British were very much, they were controlled by conservatives. The Labour Party didn't come to power until after World War II. Were imperialists and wanted to see their rivals destroy each other, i.e. Russia and Germany. Anyways, telling convincingly about the actions of white leaders and their allies, sensibly believing that Russia would not have had a chance to remain sovereign without the Bolsheviks. The memoir ends with this confession of sympathy for the Bolsheviks after so many years, despite the fact that they shot 3 of his brothers. It's strange that it wasn't published here. Release it to the shelves. New book is available to all Soviet citizens in the book-selling network and state libraries, becoming a bomb among dissident circles, which caused a split among them. However, the further fall of the opposition depends on your actions. Oh, a little less opposition. That's nice. Reduced mind mobilization. Nice. 95 political power was 96 before, right? So, yeah. It says the military marginally does impact political power gain. Of course, that could have been within standard, like, error. Could have been, there's a randomness element. Maybe not. Given the utility of that military, it may have been worth it. Except when a country flips to my side, and Sudan will eventually do that. Probably the first. Flip at the very beginning game against me. Be able to send it military aid quickly. Alright. No, wait, I'd have one less political power just because I sent the military aid when I... Okay, so actually I gained the same amount. It's because I spent more, they had less. Okay, well, that was my military too weak to send more. Oh well. Probably too weak for certain events as well. Oh well. Coexistence, unification of the Warsaw Pact economies. There's an event that would have unified, but hopefully I still get that event and I can move all the way to direct control. Yeah, maybe not. And that doesn't come till later. Advantage of this is I can cut the state propaganda and envelopes the public leaders. This will allow my army to be used to hold the publics together instead. Gets me the money I can turn my attention overseas soon. Cult of Cybernetics. The peak of the heyday of the cult of cybernetics came in the 50s, when young minds and scientists dreamed of building an automated and robotic cybernetic future capable of providing real communism. However, the movement began its downfall after the widespread criticism of one of its prominent figures, Kitov, and attacks from Khrushchev and the party he was moving. So this very much ties into my Malenkov type leader, actually, because what happened is, after Stalin's death, Malenkov was briefly in charge. He was a technocrat, as opposed to there was this quote anti-party group that hated technocrats getting power. He wanted engineers and scientists promoted to high government offices. That is, Malenkov did. He defeated that, but then after that, Malenkov's power waned because he was very unpopular, and Khrushchev ended up forcing him into retirement, and Khrushchev became the premier for a long time. So, yeah, Malenkov came between Stalin and Khrushchev. Anyways, you see propaganda. Wikipedia is the worst because any asshole can edit, and you know the CIA goes and does it in the State Department. They'll call Malenkov a Stalinist, but no, he wasn't. He was a moderate reformer, actually, which this game has correct. He wanted to somewhat soften state control, somewhat globalize some economic stuff. Just because he worked with Stalin doesn't make him a Stalinist. They're misusing the term intentionally. Stalinist isn't a hardliner, as in, particular type of socialist. Anyways, and Stalin's doctrine is one of strong domestic control, but not being too aggressive and taking the revolution abroad, whereas the Trotskyites were all about take the revolution abroad so aggressively that it might haul out the Soviet Union and lead to domestic collapse. In fact, Trotsky's theory said it was inevitable. The revolution would collapse, and so the point was to spread socialism around the world so they could come back to the Soviet Union after it collapsed from abroad. Who knows, maybe he was right, it did collapse in the Soviet Union, but didn't have to, and the Soviet Union very much tore itself apart with believing that capitalism was a better system. Reformers like Gorbachev coming in and moving towards free market reforms. It were a terrible idea. Anyways, with the arrival of Brezhnev, the attack stopped, but other ideas occupied the thoughts of Soviet people, and the government was in no hurry to help the cybernetics revive. It was not until the late 1970s that progress began towards universal automation, but during Andropov's time, he came after Brezhnev. He was temporarily, it was Andropov and Chernenko, I think, were very brief. Neither of them was in power very long. The party turned its attention to Chinese economic experiments instead, which were more free market reforms, which is what led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. The Chinese actually did make good use of those, but it was risky. The system almost collapsed around the time of Tiananmen Square, which was basically a series of protests. It wasn't about democracy when it claims that as full of shit. It was intellectuals, so close to being about democracy, but actually it was about having a more technocratic government, one with higher status for intellectuals, with some pseudo-democratic norms, but it was really they wanted oligarchy that was controlled by technocrats instead of oligarchy that was controlled by party elites. More false pretenses of democracy, but not, they weren't like actual, like there were some anarchist movements that legitimately cared about democracy, and even tiny pro-West ones that were more authentic, but Tiananmen was actually about technocratic control. Well-educated college-age students who wanted to make more money than the rest of the population and be part of a privileged elite. Anyways, and so they claimed that was about democracy because that got the CIA involved on their side, that supported their movements before Tiananmen. Anyways, it was not until and then of course they were given asylum after what happened there. It was not until the 70s that progress began towards universal automation, but during Andropov's time, the party turned its attention to Chinese economic experiments. Time of Andropov passed, and the cosmonauts, Che Guevara and Bam, no longer occupied the minds of the masses. While you turned your attention to automation, so maybe it's time to revive the forgotten but still modern cult of cybernetics. I'd like to do it. I don't have the option to do it. Well, some groups of cybernetic scientists still try to design concept of OGAS. I couldn't. This would have been nice. It would have let me get the OGAS tech, I think, for free. Their representative Kitov sends you a letter where he begs to return the idea of OGAS. You should decide if you'll follow the advice. Oh, I will. It didn't. Maybe I didn't have enough money in the reserves. It might have been like you need reserves over this or that number. I don't know. It doesn't tell you why you can't take certain options, which is one of the most frustrating things about this game. It should say you can't take this option because you have insufficient reserves or something. All right. It's gonna be more. I'm gonna bring the revolution back to Burkina Faso. I think it's the best developed country that's flipped. Get rid of Campore. To get revolution number to over 100 for this to work. Boom. You have to have some reserves for it. Ivory Coast has let's do a revolution here, especially since they were supportive of Campore. Boom. Drains reserves a little. Shoot. And Togo, because it borders Burkina Faso. Revolutions in West Africa, the U.S. is going to eat this. I mean, eat it. Oh, you know I can do a revolution in Sudan, too. That's 25. Should be at 4-1 reserves, if I calculate correctly.